So today we are continuing our data analysis class, and in our class today we are going to discuss Python tuples. The previous example we discussed about lists, and here we are discussing about tuples. For that we will simply open new notebook, and just like list, tuples also have some properties. So, a tuple in Python is a collection that is ordered and immutable. That is the main difference between a tuple and a list. So, in case of list, we saw lists were ordered and mutable, but Python tuples are not, neither are ordered but not mutable. Meaning, once you can create a tuple, its element cannot be changed, added, or removed. So in Python, we saw in list, we saw we can append elements, we can extend elements, we can also replace elements, but here this is not possible. In tuple, the key features are it is ordered. So elements in tuple will maintain their position just like list. They are immutable. Once they are created, uh, elements cannot be modified. They are heterogeneous. That means tuple can hold element of different data types, and they are hashable. Tuples can be used as keys in dictionaries, which we will learn later. So if they contain only immutable elements, which we will learn later, and they are faster. So the main reason is tuples are faster than list when dealing with a small unchanging data set. So that is important. And every time you will wonder like why are we studying these things? So a simple thing is suppose you have an Excel file. If you receive a data set, let's say name, let's say age, okay? Or for example, we are trying to see stats of a player. This is MS Dhoni's stats, okay? So in the stats or whatever Excel file you will see there are n number of columns, okay? Every column here is like a list or a tuple, you can say. So if you want to represent this data in form of a Python list or a tuple, you can create these lists and store this information in lists. Why is order or index so important? Because, for example, here in the fifth row, where index is 4, he let's not take that example. Let's take this example. In the index 5, where he scored 148 runs were against Pakistan in Visakhapatnam on this date, right? His balls he faced, force hit six. So if we mess up with this index, so every record here will also be altered. So that's why this index is very important. So in list and tuple, this index is already there. It's kind of a hidden index, right? That's how if you have four lists, so you can, or let's say 7 or 10 lists. So for every position, you know what value will be there. So you can represent a table in form of a list. And that's why later we are this type of concept is also used in many JSON APIs, so which we are going to learn later. So that's why ordering is so important. Now, when you have to create a tuple, let's see and understand these examples. List is created as a square bracket. So the bracket to create a list is a square bracket, and in a square bracket we create list. But in tuples, we use a round or curly bracket. Okay. Oh, sorry. We use this round bracket, which is also known as parenthesis. Now you can create a tuple with all integer values like 1, 2, 3. You can also create a tuple with makes two data types like one hello 3.14 true. So here you can see integer, string, float value, boolean value. Tuple without parenthesis, like you can also create a tuple without parenthesis, just like this. So here we have enclosed them in a bracket, but you can also create it like this. And you can also create a nested tuple. For example, here, first let's create this. So in tuple 4, you can see the first element is an integer, second element is a tuple itself, and third element is a list. So that's why a tuple can also be a nested tuple. Now, when you will run this, and suppose you will print tuple 4, so you will get the output like this. Now, suppose you want to print 4 here, okay? So because it is also ordered, so here you can write tuple 4 in a square bracket 0, 1, 2. At second position, we have the list. So when you will print 2, you will see at second position we have the list, and in that list at zeroth position we have 4. So if you want to print that, you will be able to print like this. Okay. So this is a simple example, and this is our tuple explanation, simple explanation with which we can understand. In order to access tuple elements, it it is just same as list. There is no difference here. So what we did in list, same thing will be applied here also. For example, fruits are there. So we created a tuple of fruits. If you print fruits in a fruit 0 will give you apple, and fruit minus 1 will give you cherry, right? So this is simple explanation as we learned in previous examples also. So in tuple also there is positive index, and indexing can be accessed negatively also, like minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, and so on. Then we have tuple slicing just like lists. So whatever we did for slicing in lists, that is the same thing we can do in tuple also. So here numbers is 10, comma 20, comma 30, comma 40. So these are five numbers. So by slicing, we mean that we want to see values from index 1 to 3. So you can write 1 to 4. So in 1 to 4, the last index will be ignored. Right? Slicing from start to index 2. So this will be, we will not write start value, but we can only write the end value. And this is slicing with a step. So slicing with a step means here you write two colons, and two colons mean here you are writing two, right? So that means you want to skip every second element. So the output will be 10, 30, and 50. This is a simple example here. So here let's discuss about this type of slicing. Let's create a tuple from a range. Okay. So let's call it empty my tuple, and here we will use tuple function. So tuple constructor can also be used, and here we are creating a tuple in a range of 1 to 10. And when you will print, so you will see automatically a tuple will be created. If I will write 11, so 1 to 10 will be created. So for slicing, if I write empty 2 to 5, okay, so 0, 1, 2. At second we have 3, 4, 5. So 3 and 4 will be printed. Okay, 3, 4, 5. Because here the element fifth has fifth position. So it will be 0, 1, 2, 2, 3, and 4 will be selected. 2, 3, and 4. That's why we are getting these numbers. So this is one thing. But if you write a slicing like this, like we write 7. So from 0 to 6th element will be present. Okay. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Since here we have started the numbers with 1, that's why we are getting 7 also. Now if we write it like this, so this and we write 2. So this will give us all values, all odd values, right? So this is something that you can see like it is skipping every second value. One is one is printed, two is ignored, three is printed, four is ignored, five is printed, six. So that is also you can do. So these are the three important things about slicing. So in slicing you can this is known as slicing with step. This is slicing from start to index and this is slicing between given index. All these examples will be provided to you. You can go ahead and try these examples. This is important. And now we will talk about immutability of tuples. So let's simply copy the heading here. Again, in Google Colab, if you just want to provide a heading, so you can use text here. Instead of using the code cell, you can use the text cell. Here we can make our heading bold and this will be like a text. So now this is the code cell. So these two type of cells are because we create many type of reports also, right? Uh, Let me show you one simple report. This is something that we have applied deep learning model here using artificial neural network. So here we have a report, right? In our report, we may have some headings, we may have some graphs. So, and while writing whatever we have analyzed, while providing the insights, we also print text. So that's why learning this in Colab or Notebook is important. How can you print like this, right? So it also supports HTML. So that is something that you can do here. So this is immutability of tuples. So in immutability, what do we mean here? Let's say our list was like this: 45, 67, 89, 67. Okay, our list was like this, and first we'll create the list, and we said ML2, that means 0, 1, 2, ML2 to be 98 or 99, whatever, right? So this was possible in list, and now when you will print ML, you will see 89 will be replaced with 98. This was possible, but if you will do the same thing in tuple, okay, here we will just replace it with parenthesis, call it empty. So if you will write empty 2 is equal to 98, so you will receive the warning or error that, oh, sorry, I wrote empty. Tuple object does not support item assignment. So that's why in tuple it is not possible. Okay. Now there are some operations that we can perform in tuple. First operation is concatenation. So suppose we have created a tuple 1 with 1, 2, 3. Okay. Tuple 2 with 4, 5, 6. So if you will write tuple 1 plus tuple 2, this operation will be will give you the output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Let's say we we will create two lists here. L1 is equal to list tuple 1 and L2 is equal to list tuple 2, okay, L1 plus L2. So if we'll write this, then in list also this is possible. Okay. So this particular operation concatenation is possible in both list and tuple. So this is very important, and that is what you have to learn also. Okay. So this is called as concatenation operation. Next is repetition. So the plus operator is used to add something, but this asterisk operator or a star sign is used to multiply something, right? So, for example, we want to repeat the elements of a number. So, let's say we have 1, 2, 3 here, and we want to repeat these numbers three times. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Because in tuple also, uh, we know that values are supported. Like we know that repeated values are supported. So you will simply write this and you can see 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So tuple can have repeated values. So this is a simple way of repeating your numbers. If you want to generate a sequence which is repeated n number of times, so then you can use this thing. Okay. Then there is something called membership test. So there are two operators in Python that are called membership operators, and these are in and not in. In simply means whether something is in some other element or something is not in some other element. Okay. So here we have fruits. So we have fruits, apple, banana, cherry. Okay. We created a tuple here. Now print apple in fruits. Okay. Print apple in fruits. Output true. So if you will write print apple in fruits, this simply means if apple is in this particular tuple or not. When you will write, you will see true. Okay, because apple is in this thing. Let's say grapes, because grapes are not part of this. So this will give us false output. Okay, so this is very important, and this will let us know that grapes. This way we can check if the element is part of a tuple or not. So that's why this is very important. Okay. Similarly, we can also apply a for loop on a tuple. So earlier we learned how to apply for loop on a list. In the same way, we can apply for loop on a tuple. For that, let's say our list is given like fruits. So we can simply write for I in fruits, print I. This I will simply be the item in fruits, right? So it will give you the output like this. So for loop iterates over a list or a tuple and it prints every element that is there. Okay. So that is very important, and that's why you can use for loop here also. Suppose you have to write for I in tuple range 1 to 11. Okay. Or I in tuple range 1 to 11, print I multiplied by 2. As we created a simple table in the previous example, right? So we can also do that. That is also possible with tuples. For I in tuple, here we are simply creating tuple using the range as we created earlier, and then using that in a loop, and then printing I into 2 every time. Okay, you can also take input from a user and do that. Now in list we had many methods. So if you recall the chapter of list, so in list you can see our methods were append, extend, insert, remove, because most of the methods that were there in a list, most of them were to make changes in the list, right? Most of them were to make changes, like either append a list or extend a list or insert a list. But by definition of a tuple, it cannot be changed. That's why there are only two methods in tuple. Okay. One is the count method. Count simply is used to count how many times a value is repeated in a tuple. And there is the index method, which is used or which simply tells index of that value. So let's create a tuple. So let's say empty is equal to 46898 5799834. Okay, okay, we forgot to put a comma here. So we created this, right? Now, if you will print empty, obviously it is a tuple. So you will write empty dot count 98. So this will simply give you how many times 98 appears in this tuple. Okay, how many times 98 appears. So this is a simple explanation of count. Now, if you will write empty dot index 8, empty dot index 8. So empty dot index 8 will give you what is the index of 8. So 0, 1, 2, right? It will give you the index that is 2. If you will write empty dot 98, something that is repeated. So when you will write this, it will give you the first, it will give you the first index, right? So 98 appears at 3. And if we say is start at 4, because we know that first value appears at 3. If we say start at 4, then it will tell you that the next index is at 7. So this is your empty dot index. Okay. So indexing is simply returning the first index of a value. If you have already found the first index, then you can increment that value by 1, and that will give you the next occurrence of that number in a list or a tuple. This works for list and tuple both. Okay. Then there is something called tuple unpacking. So you can assign the element of a tuple to multiple variables using unpacking, and this is something that we will do a lot in our other examples. Okay. What do we mean by this? Let's say coordinates are given like 10, 20, 30. Let's take it here. Okay. So let's say we created a tuple like this. In this tuple, there are, let's say, three coordinates 10, 20, 30. Okay. X, Y, Z coordinates of a object in a 3D plane. So we say X, Y, and Z values are coordinates because we know that they are in order. So X, Y, Z will also be in the same order, and we will print like this. Okay. So now if you will print X, it will get 10, Y will get 20, Z will get 30. So in the same order, they will get values. So we can also assign tuple points here. So for example, now when you will write X, you will say C1 comma 2. Okay, like this. So because these values are points, right? So we have created six variables x1, x2, x3, y1, y2, y3, and we said x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3 are points. So this will take the same order. 1 comma 2 will become x1, y1, 3 comma 4 will become x2, y2, 5 comma 6 will become x3, y3, and it will be packed in the same order. And that's why when we printed x2, so it gave us 3. So this is also a way of assigning multiple values at the same time. Okay.
Sir,
So
एक चीज और थी, please.
next we have nested tuples. So nested tuple can contain tuples creating a nested structure. So for example, like the same example where which we gave like 1 comma 2 3 comma 4 5 comma 6, so accessing elements in a nested tuple will be like this. So we already explained this example, but suppose we want to access 3 here, right? So at 0 we have 1 comma 2, at 1 we have 3 comma 4, and at 3 we have 5 comma 6. So 1 0 will first select the first element and then select the zeroth element inside that first element. So this will be like a nested couple, nested tuple. Now converting between list and tuples is also easy. For example, and this, we have already done this example, but for example, numbers are given like 1, 2, 3. So if we use the list function, we can convert these numbers into a list, and then we can start appending values like append 4, right? If numbers, and then we, what in this example, what they have done is first they have written the number as 1, 2, 3. Then they converted the numbers into a list, and in the list they appended a value 4. Then they use numbers equal tuple number list. Okay. And then what they did is they, when they print numbers, output is 1 2 3 4, because now after converting it into a list, we changed the list and then we converted it back to the same tuple. So they have just given one example here how to do that, tuple to list. Similarly, a list to tuple can also be done. For example, fruits is a list. So here basically we mean there, obviously this example is simple. We simply want to explain that there are two functions, tuple and list. This is just like a casting, right? Like we can cast a string into integer or integer into a string in a similar way. These casting functions can be used to cast a list into an integer and an integer into a list. So this is our simple explanation of tuple, and this is how tuples work. I will provide this list with you, and after this we have to study sets in tuple, SETS, sets, or which is same from the set theory in the next chapter.